Hey everybody, Scott Colbert here with your video message of the week, Mindset Monday. We're going to talk this week about 3 points on call reluctance, which really ties into last week. Last week we talked about the 3 P's. They were perseverance, prospecting, and perspective. So this really kind of ties into that to really get your mind around why we don't make these phone calls, okay? Why we don't prospect. Now, granted, there's many different ways to look for business, and if anything that you're doing that's working for you, of course, keep it up. But this is a very easy approach, simple approach rather, to go out there and make a good amount of phone calls, good amount of leads, and convert those leads using the appropriate dialogues and scripts. The most important thing is just to get after it, just to get out there and get it done. I mean, telephone prospecting is, as they say, the #1 most despised activity in sales. Nobody really likes to do it, okay? But I always say that, those guys holding up signs that say slow or stop, in construction zones when it's 110, they don't like their job either, but that's how they pay the bills. This is how you pay the bills. This is what you signed up for, to go out and generate leads, convert those leads, and make a great career for you and income for your family. So really focus on the big why and why we do what we do. So there are 3 points that I'd like to talk about on call reluctance and what keeps us from making those phone calls. The first being what I call creative avoidance. Creative avoidance is basically finding anything else to do other than what you should be doing. Now granted, there's many different things that need to get done in a day, and that's why we time block things based on priority, right? But prospecting is probably the most important thing you're going to do all day. We know you have to work on your files, we know you have to go out and do your CE classes and things like that, and that's all very important. We know you have to keep your social media profiles up, and some folks actually prospect through social media and do it quite good actually. However, as far as getting out there and proactively looking for leads, looking for business, it's cheap. I mean, it's free. You already paid for the phone bill, right? It's effective. Okay, we know not everybody answers the phone, but guess what? Not everybody looks at your posts either, right? But you got to get out there and make those phone calls. So that creative avoidance, finding anything else to do other than making those calls, is really going to take you off target. It's really important to analyze that and know what your time block will look like. Let's say, from 9 to 11, I'm going to make my lead generating, my prospecting calls, okay? And I don't mean play on Facebook and things like that. And I shouldn't say play. I know a lot of you guys have a very specific plan of how to generate leads there. But let's face it, we get lost in all the other stuff, all the posts of the kitties and the puppies and things like that, and it really takes us off track. So we really have to focus. The other creative avoidance that we fall into quite often is checking the emails, returning the phone calls early in the morning, anything else we can do. I mean, it's amazing when you look at the things that you're supposed to do versus the things that you want to do, what you'll get done. Nobody likes to telephone prospect. I know that. You're going to get to the end of the day and it didn't get done, but it's amazing all the other stuff you'll get done just to avoid that, which is really kind of interesting. Second point on what gets in the way of our success is making excuses. We talk about nobody answers the phone anymore. I actually have a statistic here about 25 to 40% contact rate depending on service. That's much higher than social media or email. Prospects are really getting burned out on email and social media. Good email campaign, and we've seen this from a lot of the drip campaigns, is that if you blast out an email, if you're getting like a 23 to 25% open rate, that's considered really killing it. That's considered really getting it done. If you're telephone prospecting, maybe you're going to make 10 calls to make 3 or 4 contacts. That's still a better rate of return, isn't it? And you're having a direct conversation with somebody. I like to tell a joke that salespeople that avoid the phone are like Catholics that avoid the Pope. It just doesn't make sense. So it's okay to just go ahead and make those calls. It is your job. That's what you need to do, is go make sales calls. It just kind of makes sense. Making excuses. We talk about these leads. These leads can't qualify yet, right? That's the big word of the day, yet. Maybe they don't qualify right now, but in time they will. We did some live calls last week, and we talked to a prospect where She was renting a home, she couldn't buy, she had some credit issues that she wants to work through, but it was amazing. We were able to direct her to credit services through our preferred lender and, get some things going. We created a good contact, a good sphere of influence contact. Of course, what's the first thing you ask to contact like that is, hey, while I've got you on the phone, who else do you know that's thinking about buying or selling? And of course, she gave us a name and a number. I mean, isn't that great? And there's a lead in process there. So that's the name of the game, is just generate those leads. You really want to keep that lead sheet pretty full. Another making excuses is, I don't like cold calling, right? I hear that one a lot. I don't like to make cold calls. I don't like being cold called, and I don't want to make cold calls. Well, this is great. Here's the good news. These are not cold calls, okay? There's always a reason to call somebody. Maybe we just listed a home in your neighborhood. Maybe we just sold a home in your neighborhood. Maybe we are looking at our database and see that you contacted us about this time last year looking to rent a home, and I assume you found a home to rent at that time. I'm just curious, are you looking to own a home in 2017? That's a pretty basic script for renters, right? And that tends to work out pretty well as far as converting those, because it's very, it's non-evasive, it's just kind of a conversation, and that's really what you want to focus on. So the excuses really don't fly, I guess, with this. Everybody here, everybody looking at the video here, you could talk to each other, engage in conversations. It's just natural to have normal conversations with people. That's all we're doing on the phone. Maybe it's somebody you haven't met yet, and that's okay, but just, get out there and sell your message and present your services. You'd be surprised at the return you're going to get, the result you're going to get. It's going to be fantastic. So what are some strategies for success? Well, you got to make it fun. Absolutely got to make it fun. You want to track everything that you're doing. You want to know your scripts and objection handlers. You are going to get some objection handlers, and if you are well versed on those and you know how to speak fluent real estate, you're going to be able to overcome a lot of that, or at least to keep the conversation going. Remember, we're just asking questions. That's all we're doing. We're just asking good questions and following that dialogue. Another strategy to make it fun is embrace the rejection. You're going to get rejected. That's how this works. There's no way you're going to make 10 phone calls today and make 10 leads. It's just doesn't work like that. But that's okay. Once you know what those numbers are, if you knew that you could make 10 phone calls today, get rejected 9 times, and then have 1 lead that actually turns into a sale, which brings you $7, $8, $9, $10,000 in income. I mean, wouldn't that make sense? What if it was 100 phone calls to that 1 yes that actually turned into some business? Wouldn't that make sense? Of course it would. So you just have to go out there and do it, right? The third strategy that we'll talk about is your time blocking. For getting over call reluctance, we really have to set that time. We really have to keep that appointment with ourselves. Like I said, maybe it's 9 to 11, maybe it's 1 to 3. You got to find out what time works best for you. I found, and a lot of others have found, that making those calls in the morning tends to yield better results, mainly because you're going to actually do it if it's the first thing in the morning, and that's the most important thing. Again, you're going to hear, well, people aren't home. Yeah, they are. Everyone carries a cell phone around. They're around, okay? So you can make those calls, and you can expect about every 4 calls you're going to get a pickup, and that's a pretty good rate of return there, I think, on your time, isn't it? Probably better than that, actually. You'll be surprised how many people are picking up the phone. The only people that are really screening the phone pretty hard are expired listings and for sale by owners. But if you're calling past rental leads, folks like that, they don't see it coming, so they're going to answer the phone. So that's a good thing. But you want to time block. You want to make sure that you keep that appointment with yourself. You could mix it up a little bit, say 9 to noon one day, or 9 to 11. Maybe one day it's 1 to 3. Really look at your schedule. I always recommend take your month, calendar, month at a glance calendar. Look at all the days that you have. Look at all the contacts that you need to make based on how many leads that you need, based on your goal. If you're not familiar with what we're talking about there, we can get more into that on another video where we talk about building your success on purpose. But what we're really trying to do is say, hey, if I need 300 or 400 contacts in a month to make 4 leads and convert 25% of those leads to make X, then you have a number in mind of what it takes, that you have to hit every single day as far as your contacts. Your failure rate's already built in there. I wouldn't even call it a failure rate. It's success, if you're actually making the calls. Remember, we have to expect the no. We have to expect the rejection and embrace that, and that's okay. But really focusing on that time block and find out which times of the days maybe work best for you. But it's if you look at that calendar, you're going to go back and say, well, I have 20 prospecting days, 5 days a week, 4 weeks in a month. Sometimes it's 21, sometimes it's 22 days in a month, whatever that looks like. Then mark out your days off. Other than the 2 days off that you take, it might be, hey, we have a family trip on this day, we've got something going on that day, I'm out of town over here. Mark those days off. Whatever days you have left, take that number, divide it into those days, and that's the contacts you need to make every day. Set up a time to do it, time block for it. Remember, build that success on purpose. So I hope that's helpful to get over the call reluctance a little bit. Stop making excuses, stop the creative avoidance, make it fun. Time block it, so it's an appointment that you keep with yourself every single day, and really expect to win. Do it on purpose. There's really no reason why you can't be making the calls. The biggest obstacle you're going to have, and I say this to folks all the time, is that if you even committed to 1 week of making your contact goal every day, and a contact goal looks something like 15, 20, 25 contacts a day, if you even committed to 1 week of doing this, your problem is going to be that you have so much going on with leads in your business that the time blocking, point number 3, is going to be very, very crucial on how you actually keep that appointment with yourself every day and stay on top of your business. So I hope that was helpful. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll talk to you next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.